Welcome to the January 2020 board meeting. We are in session. It is 6:35 p.m. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So the meeting is being recorded. We will be going into executive session at the end of the meeting, not to reconvene, to discuss legal strategy, purchase or lease of real estate, and negotiation with representative personnel, because discussion in public session would be detrimental to our position. And I'd also like to ask for a volunteer for a timekeeper for tonight.
I can do that.
All right. Thank you, Jess.
Don't go over though. I'm not kidding around, Ron.
With that, start with any public comment. No public comment.
No public. Remember in the old days when we were popular?
Yes, popular is a relative term.
Exactly. Infamous is more like it.
So, given that we are through public comment, the next item up is to review and approve the minutes from the December 5th meeting.
Move to approve minutes.
So you have motion to approve minutes from Cindy. Do we have a second? Second from Liz. All in favor?
Aye. And I abstain.
Jill passes with Jill abstaining. Anybody else abstain?
I think that Nick and Ben weren't here.
They may vote, or
They abstain as well.
it is their discretion.
Okay.
Both are valid.
Sure.
So, motion passes with Jill abstaining. Thank you. Let's see. Next up, we have Ellen with the Executive Director report. So, Ellen gets ready. I'd just like to call people's attention, and we'll be collecting action items as we go. We currently have 3 open action items. None of them are going to be addressed during the meeting itself, but we have committees to develop SMART goals, board members to update Board on Track, and committees to put their agendas and Board on Track. So if there are other other action items that occur during the meeting, we'll record them and add them to the list. With that, I would pass the baton to Ellen.
Okay, well, welcome to the board meeting tonight, and happy New Year 2020. We're excited to be back to school. Things have gotten off to a smooth start. And so this is my board report tonight. Just to give you a quick overview, we're going to look very quickly at the 2019 PSATs. No real surprises there. We're going to show a little growth year to year. And then my ED, so one of the goals that I had was to report to the board, to the governance, and then to the board about the progress that we've made on all of my ED goals. And so I'm going to do that section by section, try to keep it moving for you. And then during that goal check-in, I'm also going to address some of the things that came up in the November Pulse survey, and the way that we've already moving towards addressing those things, because they've been on our radar for a long time. So I'll pop in. I don't have specific slides on the Pulse survey because I did go through the task force slides, and they look like they cover everything. A couple razzle-dazzles, just some pictures. Hasn't been a long time since our last meeting. No videos tonight because most of my time will be looking at the progress we've made so far this year, and then a review of upcoming events. All right, so first we're going to look at these PSAT scores. So this is PSATs were administered last October. They're administered here, grades 9 through 11. And these are the results that we had from our 11th graders, October 2019. These are their scores on fall of 2018 when they were 10th graders. So what we're looking for here is, here's the school, the mean score of the school, 1181 when these students were 10th graders, and now the mean score is 1212 as they head into 11th grade in October, and then they'll head into taking their SATs, ACTs if they choose to, anywhere between January typically and June of this year. So they're showing growth there when you compare the mean of the state, and this is English reading, writing, and math. The mean score on the state is 1014, and then nationally is 1004. So our students are well above and beyond those mean scores. And we are seeing a nice bit of growth here. When we look down here, there are benchmarks where College Board wants to see the students, and 80, I believe that says 88 or 89%, Mike, can you see that a little bit more clearly there? Is it 89% of our students have met both benchmarks, 93% in English and 91% met the benchmarks in math. So what they consider to meeting the benchmarks showing proficiency or readiness for college actually is 510 for math and a 460 in English. Next one. Okay, so now these are the 10th graders that took the exam this fall. This is what their scores were when they were in 9th grade, is down here. Last year is below. And once again, they were 1102 as 9th graders, and their scores rose up to 1160 for the mean scores for our current 10th graders. So they did a nice job too. And you can see our scores of 1160 compared to the state at 948 and the national 925. Next one. And then these are the first time that these are our 9th graders that have gone through the PSAT, and they're starting off with 1,060 for their score. This is a different version of the test than what the 10th and 11th graders are taking, but still a good indication, and you can see that their scores are considerably higher than the state and also nationally. Any questions on the PSAT scores? I think these are good showing, the nice, strong scores. Any questions on those? No? Okay. Congratulations to all the kids. You did a fantastic job. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to run through the ED goals. You can take a look. You've got a handout that's in your packet. It is 9 pages long, 11 font. So there's a lot of detail there. There's also attachments on that. A lot of detail there that I'm not going to go over tonight because we'd be here all night. I have a fantastic, amazing team who works hard on all of these things all the time, including our department chairs, our administrators, and our teachers. Put all of that work together, and you have 9+ pages of work. Okay, so just to let you know that you'll see the number 1, the number 2 that's in orange, that's the actual topic. So there's 4, my evaluation's broken up into 4 areas. Those are the 4 areas, and then it's broken down underneath there. So anything like 1A and 1B, those are both around AP scores and MCAS scores. Kids don't take the MCAS until the spring. We don't get the scores back till October. And then the AP that they take in May, we don't get the scores back till July. So I skipped those because I'll update you when I get them. So the first one is about creating new and innovative classes. You can take a look at the full goal there. And so these are the classes that we're offering next year. And this is all in the program of studies because the kids, the teachers right now are in the midst of making recommendations for next year. But we are looking at expanding the research program. I've been working quite a bit with Mark Vital and Scott Juret and Leanna. We worked on a grant called the Cummings Foundation Grant. We're very hopeful about that, and if we do receive that grant money, we will use it to expand the research program and to offer some classes that would support the collaborative work that we're doing right now with Quest Diagnostics, and there'll be more of that coming. We'll also have an intro to meteorology coming up. And then our English, new English elective is called Utter Madness, Lunacy and Psychosis in Literature. One of the books that they're reading, which was an old favorite of mine when I was young, is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So Mr. Looney's teaching that class, and I think the kids are really going to enjoy it. Yeah, exactly. There's a new art class called Choice-Based Art. Mike liked this one especially because he said he was never much into art. I wasn't either, and I would have loved to have had the opportunity to choose something that I liked instead of being told what project to do. So that's Ms. Terrell that's doing that one. And we also are offering a new internship program opportunity for our seniors. And these internships they're really administrative internships. So for example, I was talking to Mr. Finkel today. He's interested in doing one. It would be a full job application, resume, interview process that the seniors will go through. So we'll advertise. Leanna is looking at one in the business office. Pete Jones is in the athletic director's office. And the kids can apply for those, interview, and then one person will, or two. I know the IT department wants several. So, and they will receive credit for those. We're going to start the mid-year this year to just get them rolling, and then it would be a regular class offered next year. So that's kind of exciting. And then also, Sarah Preston has been working on the Massachusetts Seal of by Literacy program. It's a seal. There's a link in there if you're interested in more information, but basically it's talking about students who may be fluent in Portuguese or Chinese from home, that they can do a couple different exams, and there's things that they need to do. But it is a seal. Anyway, there's more information there. I can spend a lot of time on it. But it's exciting, and Sarah Preston's been working on that all year. So now the accountability plan, as you know, we've had our visit. We have, in fact, Sarah and I and Mike met today looking at the Cooking with Oil document. We really are well on our way to having starting to put together that draft. We're meeting with department chairs on the 14th, this Tuesday, and they will get their binders and we'll start engaging them in the work. It's due to DEAS on August 1st. You're going to see in my goals there, actually, it says May 1st, but that was an error on my part. It's actually August 1st. My goal is to have it all done by June 1st and to you guys. All right, so now we're into number 2, which is organizational effectiveness. This is 30% of my evaluation. And this is talking about the facilities task force. So the task force obviously is ongoing. I work continually with the landlord brokers and all sides of the financial preparations, and then I keep all of you updated monthly or as needed. 2B is around mission and core values and making sure that we are promoting those and continue to use those throughout our school community. Roger and I met just a little bit ago, and the core values and the mission of the school have really become the very fabric of the school. And there's a lot of passion around those core values and the mission statement. They're something that we really hold near and dear to us, and thanks to a lot of the work that Dr. Lewis did, they really do guide the work that we do. I want to let you know that we have a new integrity committee that started this year. It's been awesome. We've got about 12 teachers. We actually met today, was our last meeting. This, if you'll see, if you follow us on Facebook, the Core Values and Action Awards, they're weekly and monthly awards that we're working on with Mr. Finkel and Ms. McCluskey. That came out of the Integrity Committee, but we also have a new award that we're going to roll out for this year, for this spring, and it's going to be one award for each of the core values for each grade. And it's going to come through a nomination process, and then they will be awarded during the May community meeting. So we're very excited about that, and that's going to be like a feeder program for the Eagle Award that is given out to seniors. So I think this is going to be awesome. We're going to roll this out to, we're going to firm things up in February and roll it out to the teachers in March, looking for their nominations by grade level. Let's see, and also just to bring this forward on the Family Pulse survey, 87% of our family respondents said that they felt that the administration models integrity by following through on promises, being transparent, and treating everyone with respect. And so if there's any question in the world that could be asked, and that could be the response that 87% of our families felt that we have integrity, you know, it's kind of that's what it's all about. If we can't get scores like that, I'd like to see that 100%, but certainly at 87%, that's something that we feel really good about. Staff survey, 84% felt strongly agreed or agreed that to the same question that the administration models integrity. And on the family pulse survey, 93% said my children are challenged academically at AMSA, and this is directly connected to measuring excellence. Alrighty, take a look at 2C, and this is about improving communications, and this was with my team, collaboration within the leadership team itself, and all community stakeholders. It also breaks it down to board members. So some of the things that we've done is that we now have weekly student affairs meetings. These are meetings with Mike, myself, Brianna, the deans, Director of Student Services, Director of School Counseling, meet together weekly on Fridays. We also reinstated district-level meetings. This was something that used to be done years and years and years ago, and on the suggestion of Sarah Snow, we reactivated these. So all of the, basically it's my direct reports. So the Director of Facilities, the Director of IT, the Director of Communication, all of those folks, we're getting together every month to make sure that we're all on the same page and we know everything that's happening at AMSA across the board. We also, let's see, as you all know, I've had the wonderful opportunity to get to see all of you. I've gone out to dinner or lunch with 7 of the 11 of you. It's been absolutely delightful, actually. I've learned a lot. You've given me a lot of information. I hope you enjoyed your time as well. And so that's part of us spending time getting to know each other. So that's been great. And I also hope that, you know, emails from me, regular communication with the committees that you run, that's been helpful for you as well, and getting invited to events ahead of time. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the professionalism document, but this is around consistency. And we talk about, and you'll hear it in the survey, consistency, consistency, consistency. It's the biggest challenge for us across the board, as I think it is for just about any school or large group of people who are trying to work together. We have a new document. It is in your packet. The teachers we went over all of this on Tuesday afternoon. This was a document that was created by the people for the people. We all had input on this. And I've received a lot of positive feedback, you know, saying it feels like we have some direction here as far as where we're going. And this is a standard that we're going to hold ourselves to. It gives us all common language and a document to point to as things come up. So the ED roundtables, so I had talked about doing ED roundtables at the beginning of the year. They have not gone well. And although I enjoy talking to Padma Bandaru for an hour once a month, because she's the only one that shows up, I do, and I welcome that visit all the time, except that it's probably not an effective use of the time. But, so what I'm looking at is creating an ED advisory council. And so, this is something I'll be working on over the next few weeks, but putting together a group of people who want to come and talk about what's happening at the school. Other charter schools do it, but they're not typically unionized. They're talking about employee issues. I think there's things that we can address as a council that we can brainstorm and try to help make AMSA better. So I'm going to give that a shot and see if that will work. The other is not enough. Pulse survey says that 89% of our families feel that they have positive communication from administration. 79% of the teachers, they feel that they have positive communication from 79% of the respondents feel they have positive communication from teachers. 60% of our families said that they felt that they agreed or mostly agreed, strongly agreed or agreed that the portals was being updated enough in the communication on that side of things. So that's an area that we are going to work, although 60% is pretty good. We're going to work on that one. 81% of the staff strongly agreed that communication from the administration was timely, consistent, respectful. I mean, to me, that's a great number. I'd love to see that 90%, but I want them to always feel that they feel the respect from us, for sure. Mike? All right, 2D, stabilization of the special education department. Lynn Jarvis has been a fantastic new addition this year, 30 years of education experience and special ed experience. She's cool under the pressure. She's personable, she's very knowledgeable. It's been great. She's doing parent coffees, she's attending grade level meetings, and she's having weekly and monthly meetings with her department. So very happy with the work over the special education department, and you can just feel the, that department de-escalate over as this year has progressed. 2F, evaluation process and tool for non-teaching staff. So our non-teaching staff in the history of AMSA has never had an evaluation tool. I think it's very important that they have one, so created one in the summer, trained everyone on it, got everyone's feedback, they liked it. Everyone who was a supervisor was trained, met with their folks by November 1st. Mid-year meetings are scheduled, and for the first time in AMSA's history, our non-teaching staff, 100% of them have participated in the process thus far. So we will have no problem closing that out by the end of the year. Very pleased with the progress on that one. And I showed it to the department chairs, and they liked the form so much that they switched their evaluation system over to it. So there's a copy of it in your packet also. 2G, operate within a school-approved budget and successfully negotiate the CBA. Kristen will give you a finance report shortly, and you'll see that, that things are moving right along. The CBA negotiations are going to start later this month. All right, and so now we're up to 3. This is internal relations, 25%. So, you know, a lot of this is Mark's work. But there's some things on the next slide that I've done. So, when we're talking about moving at least 3 corporations from the current mid-level to full partnership, remember, we're not talking about the people who we already have full partnerships with, like Synovian and Boston Scientific and Thermo Fisher. So those are well beyond that. These are folks that we're moving with that looks like we're very, very close, probably by the end of the year. Quest Diagnostics has been fantastic. I'm so excited about the work with them. And I can see them being in the top level very, very soon. Waters Corporation, Milford, how we got connected with them is that our contact in one of the other companies actually moved. We were very close to partnering where he was, and he's now working for Waters and wants to get us involved with Waters. Main Street Bank, Mark is working with them, and they've got a couple different classes they're going to come here and do. They're talking about scholarships. That's looking great. So now we're looking at relationships with at least 7 corporations that are currently in the mid-stage now. You can see Intel here, IPG, Rewalk, GE Health, and he's also, those other ones are kind of in that mid-level group too. And they may end up falling there depending. Next one, Mike, thank you. So establishing 14 new initial level relationships with corporate and non-profit organizations. So some of these, you know, they're initials, but yet we feel that they're going to be in 2 by the end of the year. So that's why they're kind of in both sections there. And you can see those there, the nonprofits. Chamber of Commerce, Mark is actually on the executive board now for Chamber of Commerce. That's a little promotion for him. I believe he's the vice chair now of the Marlborough Chamber of Commerce. Marlborough Eagles, the Central Mass STEM Network Ecosystems. This was a referral from Raul from the meeting that he and I had one-on-one. And this is an organization he belongs to. This is through WPI. So this was a great contact. Raul gave it to me. I passed it on to Mark. He's now on 2 of their committees. So that's exciting too. You just give it to Mark, and he runs. The American Legion, because he is involved with them, and the kids sing, and the patriotic holidays and things. The Marlborough Rec Department, because we've done a lot of work with them, cleaning up their paths. Metro West STEM Council, the Mass Charter School Association is new for us again this year, MIAA and the MSAA too. Next one, Mike, thank you. Okay, so now we're on D. So this is some of the work that I've done. The goal is that at least one person, Mark, myself, or Mike, or someone else, that it would either be me or another AMSA employee who would represent AMSA at least 10 corporate or community events. These are the ones that I've done so far, these 6. Mark has done 100. I mean, I could, be 6 slides. So Boston Scientific, I went to internship presentations this summer. I've had 2 meetings with Ken Copeland through Synovian. I've become very, very active in the Mass Charter School Association. This was a charter school that we all went to visit. They're coming here in February, very excited about that. Chamber of Commerce annual meeting, Mike and I went to that together. This was the Quest Diagnostics tour we had, which was super exciting. And then we had a delegation of leaders from Abu Dhabi that came, and that was a lot of fun. They all were English, and they were teaching here in the United Arab, and they were fascinating. They had a great time with Alex Waldron, and we all met with them in the department chairs, and it was delightful. They invited us to go over there. All right, getting close to the end here. So E, explore opportunities for college and universities, and also to solidify the relationship with Leslie, because at the time we knew that we were in talks with Leslie. We had been for about 6 months when these goals were developed, but we signed the MOU on September 3rd. We have put hours and hours and hours into Leslie, this relationship, myself, Scott obviously, and Padmaja, tremendously. This will be Padmaja's baby, really. Scott is directing the program. Padmaja will be teaching, and I'm kind of handling the money and the PR side of things. But what this is we are going to be offering a master's level computer science teaching licensure here at AMSA. And this was an opportunity that Padmaja found because she does a lot on the state level, and she got hooked up with these folks. Right now there isn't, I believe, a licensure program for a computer science teacher on the state level. So, Jess would have a history license, and that's been around forever, but computer science is new, and computer science teaching is new. And we have a cutting-edge computer science program here. They reached out through Padmaja, and Padmaja will actually be teaching a couple classes after school to master's levels teachers, some career changers, some younger folks, and then during the school day, they'll do all their internship work here under Padmaja and under our other computer science teachers. They will actually be paying us a small amount of tuition to do this, which covers the extra work that Padmaja and all is doing. It's a feeder program for us for computer science teachers if we need it. And this has been a beautiful relationship between us and Leslie University. We are having our first information session, if you're interested in learning more about it, on February 13th. And we have a page on the website that's dedicated to this new program. And this is super, super exciting. And if it works out well, we can expand this into any of our departments, right? We can expand this into math or history or English. So this is a trial. We're hoping to get 1 or 2 maybe students in next year. We'll see how many we can handle because we have to help them through their licensure program and all of that. And then the last one is just my Executive Director Professional Development. That's 10%. I did not list this because it is extensive. I've done a lot of work this year through the Mass Charter School Association, through MSAA, a lot of work around culture and diversity. Social justice has been a focus of mine for sure. And you can take a look at all the different topics. The program that I'm in with the Mass Charter School Association, it is an ED professional development year-long program. There's 12 of us in it, and they have hit every topic from budget through race relations. It's been fantastic. Okay. Any questions? Because that's it. All right, razzle-dazzle time, Mike. All right, so we had mammal results. This is a big Massachusetts Mathletes test. You can see our finalists. We had 4 finalists this year. It was absolutely amazing. Grades 12, 11, 10, 9. So we got John and Sam and Shruti and Colin, and Krishna, a 9th grader, was a semifinalist. So we're very excited, wanted to let you know. That's a high number there. All right, here's our AMSA athletes recognized. We have Olivia Deckers, volleyball, 12th grade, and Ethan Saul, Liz's son, 10th grade, AMSA golf. Both made the Metro West All-Star team and Worcester Telegram, super team, and Olivia made the state all-star team. We're very proud of them. They've been all over the internet. You can Google their name. And just to show you quickly, because I think we announced this before, BSU did a wonderful book drive. This is to benefit Boys and Girls Club. And they had collected 46 books, and they all look so happy, and it was a very sweet project. And just upcoming events. Holiday party, I hope to see some of you here, rescheduled to this Tuesday at 4 p.m., same location. Diderot Society's having their colloquium night, very excited about this, 6 p.m. on the 15th. Love to see you here for that. And then 8th grade step-up night, that's for parents whose kids are coming up into the high school here. On the 23rd, 24th is Winter's Arts Night at 6 p.m. That's here in this building and in the White Building.
I think that 6 p.m., don't quote me on this, but I think we reserved the space from 6 p.m., but I think the
Actual event.
The music part starts at 6:30. I think maybe the art in the other building. Do you?
Yeah, I think it was, read something about it being staggered so
Yeah.
that people can see.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, my calendar says 6. Okay, all right, check the website. And then just our all-day strategic planning meeting, 8:30 a.m., and it is at the Fairfield Hotel across from the Starbucks over at the Apex Center. And then just one last plug-in for the Charter School Advocacy Day. Some of you have reached out and said you're going to attend. Please use the link and register with the Charter School Association. We're going to take a white bus. There's already 6 of us committed to go, so super excited about that. And Happy New Year. Thank you. Yay.
Thank you, Ellen. That was amazing. Any questions for Ellen? Thanks again. That was amazing, fact-filled presentation. Jess?
Thanks, Ellen. I'll be much less than 5 minutes. I don't even really have a faculty report, which usually means that if people aren't coming to me, that's usually a good sign. We just got back, so I guess there's not too much to complain about yet. We are opening up the scheduling process, so that at the last faculty meeting, so we're getting ready to start signing up for classes for next year. So teachers have been through the process of Ellen mentioned proposing classes, what's going to be there, writing the course catalog, and we'll be in the process of making recommendations for our students that we have now, what classes they should take next year and at what level. I was like, what can I put in this report? Really, nobody reached out to me. But, you know, one of the things that faculty is generally happy about is that the administration seems to continually make a really good effort. I think the communication numbers showed this out, to reach out to faculty for input. So, for instance, either today or yesterday, we got an email asking about a possible tweak to the schedule. When we have a 2-hour delay because of the snow day, right now we have an 8-period day, so if we come in at 10 o'clock, like what happens, like what happens, how do we fix that? So the way it is now, if your class met in the morning, you miss them, which if you have a class that meets every other day, or like if you have 3 sections of the same class and I missed my morning section but I still see my afternoon section, that can be disruptive. So some of the teachers said, I would rather have 8 classes but have them for only 30 minutes. But some teachers are like, oh gosh, no, a 30-minute class is just, by the time you get the kids sitting down, it's, you know, the class is over. So, but I think in the old days that decision would have been made because somebody went and complained, and then a decision was made quickly and without consulting. So an email went out, and the faculty have an opportunity to sort of give feedback and think about the pros and cons, and so we appreciate that process is thoughtful and includes us in that. So, and that's just one example of that happening. And by the way, I have no idea what is happening, so don't spread rumors that all of the things are changing, because nothing might actually change. But I think that faculty generally are appreciative of the fact that those communication efforts are being made regularly. That's an example of one of them. And I yield back the rest of my time.
Questions for Jess? Thank you, Jess. Laura, parent rep.
So it's similarly quiet on the parent front, so no one has reached out to me either, but I do just want to remind everybody there's going to be more communication coming out, but we, meaning the PTO, is doing the golf tournament, and the committee for that is very diligently at work. We meet all the time, which is great. So make sure your calendars are marked for that. Pay attention. There's going to be a page on the website and opportunities for sponsorship and foursomes and involvement. So they're doing a really great job. at that kind of
Amazing job. And the website is actually, it's open. It's just, and the sponsorships, things are there. It's just actually to register isn't quite
Not quite there yet.
finalized yet.
Awesome. So yeah, so that's it on the parent front, but if anybody, as always, email away.
Looking forward to that golf tournament. I'm really good at the windmill one.
Me too, Jason.
Where is the tournament? Which
Marlboro.
Okay, got it.
June 22nd.
Yes, we need to make sure there are no more snow days.
Yes.
So I can remember.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe I'll get an excused absence.
Questions for Maura? Thank you. Next, I'll have Jill to present the post survey results.
And Liz can help.
Jill and Liz.
So,
And I believe it all, there was a combination of Jill.
No, I think just having the printout is fine.
Yeah.
Oh, did you get
Then I
that?
don't have to get out.
Okay. I would do for you if you want me to.
Well, because they're really just sort of basic slides, so.
Okay, you've got them.
Raul did these for us, and then he wasn't able to present them, so these are his work. I will take no credit. So the first slide was regarding response rates, and it shows, you know, the rate overall has gone down from 2018. Participation rate dropped 33% down from staff, 25% down from families. But that is sort of the trend, because even in the spring 2018, well, that was 89 responses, but then fall 2018 was 96, spring 2019 was 69, and then fall 2019, 64. And then similarly with family, 402, 368, 289, 274. So there just seems to be a decline in the amount of participation in the studies, I mean the surveys, but the results have at least come out fairly similar. So you each have the survey results, I think. Did everyone get the survey results? Because I mistakenly forgot to send them to Sarah, but she did. So let's look at the staff first, because Raul's slides sort of focus on the comments, but you know, a quick review of the staff survey just generally shows every question for the staff was the same from, oh no, we had one new question, number 7. But it shows you the slight decline in each question from 2018 to 2019. But a lot of times, like these favorable or agree and strongly agree, sometimes it's hard to parse that
I was going to say,
information out.
there's an issue because people who respond neither agree nor disagree, which is sort of a neutral comment, is actually considered negative. So it does sort of skew the results depending on how closely you're looking at it or sort of what your perspective is. So that's just something of note.
So that's, I think, why Raul focused on the comments. He felt that we got more information from the comments than we really did from this abstract comparison of the questions from 2018 to 2019. So on slide 4, Raul mentioned comments that were frequent. Again, policy and procedure consistency with the staff. A lot of it was uniforms, entering the grades into whichever portal they use. I guess it would be Plus portals. And another policy or procedure which they mentioned being inconsistent was hall monitoring. Those were sort of the themes, but I think uniforms is the biggest. It's the biggest for teachers, and I think it's the biggest for parents too. Because parents will hear that, you know, their student goes to school pristine in their perfect uniform, and then their kid comes home and it's like, you know, Johnny never wears his uniform. Or it's just, it needs to be, I think, more consistently enforced.
Yeah, I was going to say that there's several different levels to this, because there's consistency with administration handing out detentions maybe for certain violations. There's also inconsistency, and this is what the staff talks about in their comments too, is inconsistency between one classroom and the one next door in the way that they are consistently enforcing. So the teachers who are very good about enforcing the policies may, be next door to someone who isn't, for personality reasons, or they just don't see it, or they haven't really decided to pay attention to it. And so it ends up making the teacher who really is enforcing it kind of turn into the bad guy. And that's unfortunate. If you later on take a look at that professionalism document, that was really the crux of what we were trying to look at. Let's have common language, everyone agree, this is the professional standard here at AMSA. And you'll see that that document talks about the uniform and cell phone policies and all those, and everybody agreeing that this is how we're going to enforce things. So when these little things come up, we can go back, and talk about this document, so.
How does the lack of homeroom feed into that at all? Because I know the homeroom teachers used to do the uniform check, and now is it the first period teacher that does it?
I think that the inconsistency that happens from classroom to classroom happens whether or not there's homeroom or not. So if you were a homeroom teacher who was really good about being like, those pants are black and not navy, or why are you, that shirt doesn't go with that pants. Some teachers are really like, I do my seating chart, so my kids who have PE on A day are in one side of the room, and my PE's like, the first time I catch somebody 2 days in a row, they freak out. I'm like, you wore that PE uniform yesterday, wow, right? So some teachers are like just detail oriented like that they pick that up. And some teachers could go, they're like, that kid wore sweatpants all year long and I never noticed. So I don't think that is really relative to whether there's a homeroom period or not. That's my and I think that at some level, I'm not sure that I don't think it's possible to have 100% consistency on this. I mean, some people notice details better than others, and some people, I don't know. I don't think that if somebody doesn't notice those kind of details, it makes them a bad teacher or an unprofessional teacher. I think it is frustrating for teachers who are really consistent about, like, if a kid comes in, oh, so-and-so lets us use our phones, and you're like, argh. But, at some point you go like, you know what? I'm not so-and-so. Good luck getting a nice teacher next year. Can you take your sweatshirt off? So, I'm really comfortable saying stuff like that. And I think that there's sort of a band within of inconsistency that you sort of have to have a tolerance for. I think if we can narrow it and if we can kind of raise it up, that's the goal. I don't think it's possible to get 100%. And at some point, just like in your own household, mom lets us eat cookies on the couch, dad doesn't. You know what I mean? It's the same kind of thing. Yeah.
And then I think from the board's perspective, I think having this professionalism document for any of the inconsistency issues that the staff brings up is, a good, definitely first step, if not solution.
Are we at a point where we need to address it though, Ellen? Do you think we're...
The inconsistencies?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's historic here.
Okay.
We've been working on it every year, and so the idea is, okay, we've been talking about this, now let's, how can we solidify it?
I don't think it's an issue of whether or not we address it. We have addressed it. We've addressed it many times.
Yeah.
I think just no matter how many times you tell your kids not to eat cookies on the couch, you find the wrappers. You know what I mean? So it's not that it's not addressed. It's just at some point we don't want to be a military school. I think that at some point the level that in order to have 100% consistent, the trade-offs to accomplish that are probably not worth it to us.
Absolutely. I mean, I was talking to somebody earlier today, but this is about bringing everyone together, getting everyone on the same page, and wanting to do this for the community, to feel inspired and supported to do so. And I know that a word that comes up often, and you'll see it in your slides, is accountability. Because there's definitely people who want everyone held accountable. But we're not running a jail here. This is about coming together as a community. It's about supporting each other. And yeah, there you go, Sheila. Come on, man. And it's about coming together as a community and supporting each other to make things consistent across departments, across grade levels, across 3 buildings. And so we want to bring people together in a positive way. but not in a, you're gonna get written up kind of way.
I remember one year where there was like a crackdown on the accountability of the enforcement, and like teachers were getting called out by administrators in front of students. Why didn't you tell that kid to take out you know, like that's not where we want to be. It was very unhealthy. So, it's not something that's not being addressed. It's just something that takes massaging, and we get a little bit better every year, hopefully, and that's kind of where we are.
I'll tell you, with our cell phone policy, we are the envy of every school who walks through here. They cannot believe it because it's out of control in most schools that you go to, and they cannot believe.
It is one of the things I love about teaching here, absolutely the most. Even when you're on lunch duty, those kids are actually, and I know this might be hard to believe, they are talking face-to-face to other students.
Wow, they still do that? I think the important piece too is that we're teaching the kids like the personal responsibility and the personal accountability through having more consistency, right? I mean, I think that's probably the end game. It's not like you have the wrong shirt on today, but it's more own what you're supposed, like how to be professional, how to be respected, that kind of thing.
So that was policy and procedure consistency. Number 1. Quickly, the next one is very positive. Decision-making transparency. Comments were very positive, similar to Jess's comment about the most recent email that went out asking about schedule change. So almost all teachers had positive comments on transparency, and also the positive view of administration effort. Communication was key. Communication was very positively commented on throughout. Also, integrity, morale, those were mentioned too. So very positive words in the comments with regard to administration effort. With regard to professional development, there were a lot of comments about different ideas. There was like the general versus specific opportunities, and I think the general theme is you can't please everybody, and the professional development will just need to be fine-tuned and honed as necessary, and as teachers and interests change and flux, then so will professional development. So, and I'm sure Ellen read all those comments, so. And then with regard to top issues, accountability, like we all just talked about, I'm very pleased with this professionalism priorities document. I think that's a really great document, collaborative effort that will hopefully address some of the staff concerns regarding accountability. And then balance, I'm assuming there were several comments about teachers concerned about the students' mental health, workload balance, work-life balance, whatever they call it. But then there were also a couple of teachers that had comments about potential teacher burnout. And then as far as the board is concerned, there were a few comments regarding teacher salary and concerns going forward on teacher salary. So I think there were 2 other comments I just want to bring up. A few people were talking about curriculum. Teachers felt there might be a need for a curriculum overhaul or a 5-year plan, or like somehow someone sit down and look at the curriculum, which I'm sure you saw. And a couple teachers talked about AP testing and a little too much AP testing, but I know that's a very important priority for the school, so that's a balance too.
But they wanted to make sure that we're not just churning out AP classes. I think that's the thing, just for sort of the notoriety of it versus actual quality.
Exactly. So then Raul did a nice little, he likes the word bubbles.
Those word things.
Word clouds, yeah.
Is that what that's? Yeah. So those were the words he found to be much more frequently mentioned in the staff survey comments.
Do we know, like, for instance, balance is big, so that means a lot of people balance. Do we know, if a word appears in the word cloud, usually it means it's there, somebody mentioned it more often. But what's not clear is somebody said, we have a great balance, or the balance is all out of whack. So the just appearance of it is a little bit...
Yeah, I agree.
I think the concern was both student, mental health workload balance, and then also some teacher balance.
But I think the balance amongst the teachers in terms of like how many students they have in their classes, how many classes they're teaching, it was all around, it was a number of different things like that.
Yeah, so it's many areas. One of the areas that there was a comment, Jess, around there was a lot of requests for anyone want to chaperone a dance, anyone want to be on this committee, who wants to be on that committee, which of course you're just looking for a few people, but I think sometimes people feel like they feel bad if they don't, or that it looks poorly on them and that they're not able to balance their work life too as far as staff is concerned.
So any questions on the faculty pulse survey?
So the question, when we have the little bar graphs, that's what I'm looking at, not the slides. The one with the lowest favorable ratings is question 5, school procedures at AMSA are widely known and consistently enforced. I'm just, I don't know what my question is, but like, since that's the lowest, do we have a plan, or like, are there any sort of, were there feedback, is there more, can we get a little, was there any more in the comments that kind of gives us a little help on that?
Well, that was our whole first conversation.
So is that what it is?
Primarily uniform, testing.
Consistency.
Yes, submitting your scores. And like, again, the middle one, neither agree nor disagree, is considered unfavorable. So you really only have the strongly agree 5% and the agree 33%. A large majority, or 24% at least.
And I have another quick question. So beyond your presentation here to the board, does this get presented to the faculty as well with action items to address some of the things they brought up?
Well, sure. I mean, the professionalism document, which I first mentioned to the staff at the August PD, and then we actually worked on it in, it was not September, it was the October PD, and then they just got the final document this past Tuesday. That's in response to a lot of this. We didn't even know what the feedback was, but we knew what the issues were. And so some of this is around this consistency here, and I think that document hopefully is gonna help.
Okay. But when did they see these?
Well, I wanted you all to see it first.
No, that's fine. I'm just curious.
And then we put these on this part on the website.
Okay. And then, but there's no formal presentation of this to the faculty?
No, I talked about some of these things at the all-staff on Tuesday.
Okay.
But there was even one comment from a teacher, like the recent focus on professionalism and this new document may help. Like they had an inconsistency comment, but then they said, oh, but we're looking forward to this professionalism focus.
So in this question 5 and the consistency enforced, is the sense that most of the teachers were saying that teachers are not consistent amongst, teachers are frustrated or concerned that amongst ourselves we're not doing it, or are teachers frustrated that administration is not consistent? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
That's actually a good question.
I think it was a mix.
Yeah.
It was a mix, but, or just in general, uniform is not consistently enforced, but they're not saying who's not consistently enforcing it.
But I think that would lend itself to say it was the teachers amongst themselves, not of the administration forcing the teachers to be enforcing, right?
Well, I think that there was some comments there too that, they want more from the administration too, which we're definitely working on. When I look at these numbers and I think about our team and honestly how new our team is, right? So just for those of you who are new, Mike became principal in March. I became the ED in July. We have a brand new dean of students, Anthony Montegian, that started with us this past summer, right? And Dan's been a dean for 2 years. Brianna just became vice principal in March, right? So you've got a very, very brand new team here, and we are working, that's why I meet with them every week. We work to get our own consistency, to make sure that we have our process in place. Training a brand new dean. He's read everything that's been written here, and he's got 7 years of dean experience under his belt. He's doing a fantastic job, yet he's learning all new AMSA policies and procedures. So, we're spending a lot of time making sure that we're getting all our ducks in a row and that we're consistent, also bringing the staff along with us. And like Jess said, it's a matter of getting a little better every year. No hammers are going to be thrown down. We're just going to work as a community to get a little bit better, refine these, perfect these a little bit every year until we're exactly where we want to be.
I think the other thing you gotta recognize too in any statistics is that when you have a drop in responses, you may only get the negative responses, right? So you also gotta look at how do we get the responses back up again to maybe balance everything out again, and things that became issues may not be issues if we can get a broader response rate, right? So that's the other, I've done numbers and manipulated them a lot of different ways. You can make them look great and you can make them look bad in the same set of numbers, right? But when you have a lower drop and you only can work with some set of data, you may have just lost out on someone saying, I think everything's great, I just didn't respond. You know what I mean? And then when you lose out on that, it personifies some of the things that become negative, and you end up spending time on things that may not be as important. So I think you gotta make sure you take everything with a grain of salt when you do the assessment and see these things, but yeah, I think it's great. And I also just wondered that, the question I asked was, people want to hear that they were heard. You know what I mean? That's why I was asking about when this gets presented and how that is, so that they hear that again. You know what I mean? They say that they see them if they download them, but they also know that, oh, we heard you, and here's the action items associated to the questions that we're working on. So.
Yeah, so just a comment about our survey process. The goal of the survey process from the board level is to report the results. We are not, unless there was something that just stands out so drastically, our goal is to provide the information to the administration to take the next steps, and to use the survey as sort of a health indicator for the school, but not to be prescriptive as to say...
Yeah, we're not addressing
we're not, the board is not going to say how to address the issues. We are just identifying that the survey said that the following items, top issues identified was accountability and balance, and we are handing the information to the administration to do the right thing.
I'll just point out that we're at 20 minutes now.
Okay, let's hurry up. And plus, the comments are the key to these, at least for, action items, I think, for Ellen. Like, the comments are more meaningful than the bar graphs, definitely.
Yeah, they definitely are. Yes.
Okay, so family survey, Raul started off with the schedule change. 60% think that the schedule change is positive, 6% don't. I think one of the biggest things with the schedule was, the pickup and the drop-off was one of the main comments. So any change is going to cause some people some problems. So, people were saying their kids were getting up too early now and citing the studies where they need to sleep longer, and then other people were saying that they had to leave work early to pick up their kids. So there was a lot of comment on the schedule change, but I think it's just a matter of everybody getting used to it.
But the start, I was a little confused by that, because the start time didn't change. It's not as if...
No, it's 10 minutes earlier.
Yeah, but...
The buses became a lot earlier for some people, though. Not everybody, but some buses were drastically different.
I know the morning drop-off just became earlier because it was overcrowding, and it was like there were just too many people, so it would get backed up, but...
And then at some point during that morning, a lot of parents were asking for the return of morning announcements. Again, the comments were more that, my kid doesn't know what time to be dismissed because they didn't hear it over the intercom. So, those are just logistical things that the children will have to figure out. And I don't know if there's any plan to return
Are the announcements posted?
So they are. They posted right at the front desk, and they posted in the cafeteria. So they're around. You can see them on Facebook and all kinds of places.
And every teacher has them too.
Every teacher, so they can just
They display them on the screen during lunch.
And I think I get emails too, don't the kids?
Yeah, they do. They get emails.
But they're not supposed to check their phones while they're in school.
Well, they can check their email in computer classes.
Yeah.
So it's like they don't find out the announcements until whatever period.
Yeah. In computer class.
Yeah, this came up at the family forum, and I said to the family, well, okay, but it was 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes more, to read those in the morning. I used to read them. And so we would have to add that on to the end of the day, because I'm not taking a minute away from academic time. And that quieted things down.
Yeah, how much people listen to them in the past is also a questionable value. So I'm going to be really honest with that.
I think
Well,
it's
and
more
how they
efficient.
were, how it came through from a communication perspective, I heard that was not very good too. It wasn't very clear, the quality. Yeah.
The posting at the lunch happened, I think, in response to people being like, where are the announcements? I think that has helped.
Yeah.
We added that on.
Yeah.
That's good.
And we added, oh, Mike's not here, he must have run to the restroom. But we added that on, I'm gonna say, just before Thanksgiving, beginning of November. Mike Finkel, do you remember? Because you worked on that. Okay.
So I think those two concerns, even though they were very frequent, I think it's just because they're new. It's new issues, so that was the first thing that popped into their head when they were writing their comments. Because then there were, again, a lot of positive comments regarding consistency of the administration, from the administration and clear expectations, and also positive comments regarding administrative communication. The communication concerns that mostly came up were with regard to teachers, either teachers supposedly not responding to students, which surprised me, or communication with parents, I guess, I don't know if it was grades or posting of grades, but communication came up again as a large word.
Yeah, and typically it is posting of grades, and it's, you know, posting of grades right before the end of the term when kids can't do anything about it. It's like, so finding out at the last minute that, you know, you're having an issue in a class.
Which again is addressed in the professionalism priorities, so hopefully that is.
And in the
definitely-
communications protocol.
Exactly. There was one family that complained of over-emailing. So it goes both ways.
Right.
Always does.
It goes both ways. There were a few, so that was the communications and grades assignments. That's really nothing new. Balanced workload has always been a comment from the parents. Some students, you know, the struggle is too much homework and their workload is just crushing them. And then there's other comments that we need to maintain our academic rigor and give us more homework, you know. So that again is a balance and a theme consistent through the years. One comment that came up that was fairly frequent, and I'm sure it's near and dear to Ellen's heart, is the counseling and the guidance department. A lot of parents were saying that the guidance department needed to be stronger, more help with college advising and preparation, and just the counseling department in general. So I'm sure you read all those comments. And then again, because I think it's new, the pick-up and drop-off logistics came up a lot, and it just is what it is. It's where we are, it's what we have to deal with. So, one other good point though was the core values came up a few times from the parents. And for the parents to be recognizing that the core values are so strong and so important to the school was really good to see. And then again, you have the word bubble, but
It might be worth pointing out that at the same time we did a schedule change, our traffic guy retired, right? So Mr. Ruag's been doing it since the school year opened, and this is his first year doing that. It's not the, what was his name, Tom? So that probably also took a little bit of time to smooth out, so.
It did, and then we had that, it's basically was a closed campus in the morning, and now it's opened up, and Eli's goes out there later, so to relieve some of the pressure of the backup, and we made a change back here where you drop off, and I think that helped a lot too, so it's just a process.
I feel like that's
Trial and error, right, Mike?
That's probably one of those jobs that looks like it's easy when someone else is doing it, and then if you got out there, you'd be waving your hands.
Gosh, he's burning 500 calories a morning out there. It's amazing.
I get very worried he doesn't have his jacket on though.
Yes.
It's all that exercise he's got going there.
Or when someone tries to take a left turn and they've been told to stop.
Oh, yeah. He has his whistle.
all right, on that note. Thank you. Somebody else said?
Yes, thank you, Jill and Liz and for Raul for putting this all together. Any last questions?
I think the only thing that I had was that there was some conversation that Raul and I had around, should we even have a fall survey? Are the numbers low enough that we say, well, maybe we just need the one in the spring or not? But just something for you to simmer in your minds about.
Well, it just seems by looking at the rate, the numbers have been going down, that people are tired of those questions if it's the same questions every time, when they're tired of filling out surveys. So maybe something different next time.
Well, that's
Just last year and this year for this survey?
Yeah, and that's kind of the issue is we are willing to address different and new in the fall survey, in the pulse survey if we need to, but we also need the spring survey
Right,
to be
to
consistent
validate,
so that we can look at the year-over-year trends. So that's definitely something that we need to think about as well.
I think if there's no other comments, I think it's time to move on. All right. So, just give you a quick update on the board offsite. The board offsite is, as you well know by now, the 25th. We are going to start with the breakfast at 8:30. We're going to start the actual strategic offsite at 8:45. The first part of the offsite we already have homework for. I hope you've received it. And it's due by the 17th. Early submissions are encouraged. Anybody not receive email from me around New Year's? So everyone has it and knows what I'm talking about. Great. Any questions on that? Great. So Nan's going to be facilitating. Nan Dill was the same facilitator we had last year. Is going to be facilitating. We're going to spend 4 to 5 hours working on the vision, refining our vision statement, and if we are super productive, we may even get into looking at metrics to measure our progress on the vision. And then the next part of the offsite, which we're slotting for 1 to 2 hours, I was talking with Ben Hamill, and we have a couple different ideas, and I'd like Ben to present the options that we have for that time slot.
Mike, can you just hit it twice, because I go to the next slide. There's one slide before that. One more. All right, so just as a, I guess it's now.
Oh, you can push the button.
What's that, push the button?
You can push the button.
I just got it up.
Push the button.
No, it's on the side, right there. You'll see. Yep.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
You may have to hold it a little bit.
All right, there you go. Okay, can you hear me? Or does it work?
Can hear you anyways.
Anyways, you can hear me, that's fine. So, I talk about, what we did in the development committee to drive ideas around opportunities to raise money for the Board of Trustees and to give back to the school, we went through a process, basically a 5-stage process. What we did was we went and we had a brainstorming session. We put a lot of different ideas on the board. We kind of grouped those ideas together into what was working well and what we thought was opportunities to do things. We did what was called an affinity. We put them into brainstorming ideas into groups, and then we prioritized those in a different group. So this is a kind of a method called a Kaizen event or something similar to that. A lot of us have done that before. And at the Board of Trustees meeting, and speaking with Roger, he wanted to dedicate about a 1 to 2 hour session on a couple different topics to go through that, right? So how do we get feedback from everyone on the Board of Trustees that can actually get us to a point where we have an action list and some prioritization to actually get some topics done, right? So I put together a couple ideas, but then also through Roger, I also mentioned opened up a lot of different ideas. But the next slide. One of the ideas was that we as a group could take on an idea of the white building. Right? I call it the white building. You know, it's got an address and it's got some functions. We know that's an untapped resource for us as an organization, as a Board of Trustees. What I felt was good is we could go through an event of saying, what is it, what do we have it for, what are we going to do with it, and then have all of us brainstorm on things we can do and how we can improve on it or take advantage of it. Not as much as a facilities conversation, so I'm not saying like what we need to do, we need to change the HVAC system, but let's just say we have 2 floors. Do we want to look at it as 10 new classrooms? Do we want to look at it as a sublease to someone to bring revenue into the building? And these are all ideas that we'll just throw out and do, and start thinking about that as a board of trustees to say, this is now a new asset and it's an untapped resource for us, right? So through that brainstorming session, we'll figure out what works for it today, what doesn't work for it today, and then kind of group our ideas together to come up with an action list to say, all right, for instance, Nick, can you come out and get us a real estimate on something? You know what I mean? So we know for sure that we don't just say, in the past we did something. And then as a result of that, we could have an action plan and a goal that the development committee can now say, we need X more money to actually do the changes we want to do to meet the goals that we all decided about. And then we'll go after a plan to actually get the funding, go after the action items to complete them and accomplish our goal. So that's one idea. The second one is the board of trustees from a development point of view and its ability to interact with the community, right? So we look at our community within ourselves, we look at our 4 core communities, but we also represent a bigger community, right? So we could brainstorm on ideas about how us as the board of trustees can help build a better community presence for the school and things like that. We could brainstorm on those ideas. The corporate presence. We talk a lot about what Ellen talked about tonight, which is the hard work she does, the hard work Mark does, but what can we do as a board of trustees to help with that corporate kind of connection, right? The communication and things like that. We can brainstorm on that. We're going to start talking about the vision and the future vision, right? So when we talk about our vision, one of the follow-ons to that conversation in the morning could be, okay, now that we've established our vision, what are the things that we're doing well with the vision we established? What are the things we're not doing well with the vision? And what are the action items that we can do with those? And then the final one I talked about was, how do we looked externally from a community relationship point of view, how do we take from a board of trustees idea of a better relationship with the administration, with the faculty, with the PTO, and look more internally to our relationship. So these are ideas I brought up. We couldn't do all of them in our board of trustees offsite, but I wanted to explain the concept of what we would do with these ideas, which is brainstorm, create an affinity with grouping together, prioritizing with some action items for accountability, use that process, and then amongst us, we can decide. I thought in a 1 to 2 hour session, we could probably get through 2 of these, right? So we did 1 hour, and I didn't want to make the decision, right? But I thought these were my ideas. If there's other ideas that people can think of that would be top of mind or a good hot topic that we know that we've kind of been talking about, really haven't addressed from a formal point of view, this would be an opportunity to do that. So we can do 1 or 2 things. I talked to Roger. I thought we could all vote on and pick 2 of these, right, tonight, and try to figure out what that was. If we voted on them tonight and we got those 2, you could start thinking ahead of time. So when we actually got to the event, it wouldn't just be off the top of your mind. You actually could kind of digest some of them. And then I'd be open to, or we'd all be open, obviously, to, it's not my show, right? This is a group effort I'll help lead. What is there one missing from here that's more important than some of the ones I brought up? So one I open up is, does anyone think of one that's maybe a hotter topic that would be better than any of these 5? And again, this isn't a one and done event. This just happens to be something we're going to do on our offset, right? If we want to have another round, I think Jess is talking about another round table, or we do another kind of event where if this is successful, we can actually have more of these kind of conversations and go over different topics. But is there anything else that people have, like one that maybe really hot topic today? And if not, we can just vote on 2 of these just to get through the process once, and then once we see the success or even improve on it, we can bring more topics. So out of these, we're going to do a raise a hand, maybe?
Actually, Ben, can I just ask you to move to that side, please? Thank you. Sorry, I was like
No problem.
losing part of it.
Okay, so no problem. Yeah. So why don't we just do by a raise of hands? The white building, is that one that I think everybody's going to do? Yeah. All right, so I think right
1,
there.
2, 3, 4. I see everybody. So
Yeah. So I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So I
Yes,
think
Mike, please vote.
Yeah, I think that would be. I thought that was a good one that we could all just get educated on where we are, and then just come up with some ideas. And then let's just pick one more out of the other 4, I think, and so we can either address the community. Good. I think it's important because I think we look at Marlboro a lot. We don't look at all the 4 core towns, and then Grafton's and everything else where everyone comes from. Corporate presence. So the reason I thought this one might be good for us was because this is something we can help support a lot of the efforts, and we probably have relationships So maybe that's number 2 so far, right?
I've got, I saw 4.
Oh, I changed my mind, I'm gonna put my hand there.
Okay, so we got, you can vote early and often. I currently have 5.
This one I just thought was going to be relevant because we'd be talking about the vision, right? To maybe do an exercise after we talk about the vision, how to implement it. I think we may need to digest the vision before we have this one, before we try to do that too quick. And then also, this final one, I don't know if people think that this was.
I would vote for that one. We have so many new board members, people don't know who everyone is. I think there's some work that could be done there.
And again, this is not, like I said,
just me.
not one and done. So I think if I just did a quick assessment, Roger probably wrote it down. I think definitely the white building, right? And then we talked about
Corporate president is the
So why
next.
don't we just do those 2 for our offsite? And then we'll refine our process, and then later on we can address, and after the offsite, or during the offsite, if you have other ones you want to put on the list, right, then we can make some more things. But the goal from my point of view as the chair of the development committee is the outputs of these things will probably be things we need, and therefore it will give us a formulation of what our goals are in the development committee to actually raise money for, right? And so I think that's what I'm also trying to do is help the development committee get the actual prioritized voice of the team, and what we should be going after. Okay?
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to go back. Oh, actually, we don't need to go back.
All right.
Sure.
Slides to make
You can leave it off. You can just go right back.
So it sounds like so the final thing on our agenda will be that we plan to, expecting to go into executive session to receive initial update on our negotiation with represented personnel. So that will be our January board offsite. So one last thought I've had in thinking, working with our facilitator Nan and with Ellen and with Raul and Jill trying to put this together, is that to me the group of 3 that we have our mission statement that's unchanging. It's been our foundation for 15 plus years. We have our core values. They are now set in stone and being internalized and being used by the family, by the staff, by our students. And I think the third piece, in my opinion, the third piece of that puzzle is the vision. So, and the vision should be short and sweet and to the point, not a large unreadable document. So the combination of those 3 will form our foundation on which we can create a future state that will be even improved by where we're at now. So that is my goal for the meeting. Questions, comments?
So do you estimate, so if we start around 9, that the meeting will be breaking up around 3? Is that what your plan is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, working lunch, breaking up around 3. I have also invited all of our board advisory council to attend the meeting. I believe I have 1 yes and 1 maybe so far.
Was you invited, Salmini?
I did not. But please feel free to invite others. I have officially invited the leaders of the administration, all the board members, and the board advisory council. But it is an open meeting. Everybody is welcome to visit the meeting, and I will do my best to incorporate the right people to have the appropriate people join in the process.
It's at 8:45.
So we're gonna 8:45 start for the meeting itself, 8:30 for breakfast.
Okay. And it's at the Apex Center?
It's at the Fairfield.
Fairfield.
The hotel.
It's right behind Wendy's and next door to Qdoba.
More importantly, it's across from Starbucks.
Yeah, across from Starbucks. The hotel will have coffee too, but I like the hotel coffee, but I don't like Starbucks, so that's probably an oddball here.
And I'll go to Starbucks first.
Is Nan Dill, is she a faculty, is she here? Okay.
No, she's
a consultant.
She's a consultant outside.
Because she hasn't reached back out to me, so I just wasn't sure if I would see her if I came here, but I won't, so, okay. All right.
Yes, and thank you, Cindy, for getting Fairfield to donate the use of the room for our.
That was an easy one. Our GM's awesome. She's a soft touch.
Well, if you weren't here, it wouldn't have happened, so.
Well,
You can thank her and her corporation for us.
absolutely.
Other questions on the offsite? I'm looking forward to it. Committee reports, starting with education.
Okay, so we have not had our January meeting, but this is a good opportunity because based on what you heard, both from the teachers as well as the parents, we actually have Kate Driver, who will be attending our meeting next week. She heads up the guidance department, so if there's anything that any of the board members would like us to probe on, I'm actually going to meet with her before the meeting just to give her some of the topics that have come up. And I would say it's a balance between sort of the mental health of the students as well as, going through the whole college search process. So right now, that's what I'm hearing from committee members. But if there's anything that the board members would like us to focus on, just let me know, and I would be happy to add it to our list.
And department chairs have received the redacted comments, so Kate will have those.
Good, awesome.
Any questions for Liz? Thank you. Development, Ben.
Sure, so I'll let Maura speak here in a second. Our meeting is also not scheduled until January 24th this month, so a little bit early on that. But I think Maura wants to just kind of talk a little bit more details on the development subcommittee that we discussed in the last board meeting.
Yeah. Thanks, Ben. So the last board meeting, we mentioned really briefly that the development committee was creating a task force. And we actually have a name. The name we came up with at first did not have a really good acronym. We just couldn't make it work. And so we came together to figure out what the focus of this task force really is. What is the purpose of it? And it's community outreach, diversity, and engagement. Hence code, right? Which is kind of cool because math, science, it all fits together. And so the code committee or the code task force, really we want to build all four of those aspects of being here at AMSA. And the reason is because we here are only so many people on the board, right? There's only so many of us. There's only so many hours in the day. And we have some really big goals as an organization. We also realize that we're not wholly representative of the entire AMSA community as we sit here at these tables. So we know by harnessing the talent, the connections, and the passion in our greater community, we can actually have a greater impact on present-day AMSA and the future of AMSA, and that is the goal, really, of the development committee and the board as a whole. So we want to make sure that we have representation from all four core towns, and then the other towns that are represented here at AMSA. Ben mentioned that earlier. We want to foster diversity and engagement as we work to support the school, and we want to make sure we include businesses, family, and leaders in our community across the board. One of the other big things is because I mentioned earlier the golf tournament and the really engaged and active PTO, we want to use this as an opportunity for the board to collaborate more with the efforts of the PTO, right? So it's not, we get a lot of asks as parents, as faculty, as community members from AMSA, from the PTO, from the board, from teachers, from whomever. We really want to collaborate to expand our reach, bring more resources to the school, and to, like I said, maximize our impact. So that is the purpose of this committee. We are going to try and have an informational meeting in February. I will work with Mike Finkel to get communications out to everybody, but if people are interested, we want them to go ahead and email us, and you can email me, mwebster@amsax.org will probably be easiest, and we can make that available in the minutes or whatever. But if people are interested, to reach out, and we're going to kind of move forward with this. We're going to communicate over social and be really kind of out there and active in recruiting an organization or a committee that is really full of people who want to contribute their passion, their time, their talent to, what's the word I'm looking for, implement the goals and activities of the development committee in conjunction with everybody else. So Did I miss anything, Ben?
No, I think it's good, yeah. I mean, this is gonna be the force multiplier. You know, we have a small development committee that'll drive all the priorities and the order, the things that need to get done, but this will be the engine that actually gets to produce, you know, a lot of those and give us the biggest outreach that we can and most inclusive, right? So creating the collaboration aspect, not just you know, there's a group doing something and we don't know what they're doing. We wanna, you know, incorporate, you know, as many of the representation of our community as we can. So I think it's a new idea, I think, because I don't know if we've ever had this subcommittee before, but it's really a way to outreach and make a relationship building from the board to the community, and we're all in this together. So.
Questions for Ben or Maura?
So it's community outreach, diversity, engagement?
Yes.
Got it right. Thanks.
You now know the code. Jill, governance.
Oh, okay, so governance has not met yet either. Had we met, we would have gone over Ellen's ED goal check-in, but she did that very well on her own, so we will meet, I think, the 21st. Report next month.
Thank you. Questions for Jill? Finance, Kristen.
Finance met this week. We had as always, pretty robust finance discussion. Sorry, Ellen, again, for keeping you so late all the time. Leanna provided us with the November financials. December's not quite closed. We just finished up the month, so she still needs some time on those. But we had some very interesting news that Ellen has been working, as she commented on, really diligently with the Charter School Association, and has found some great partners there who have really helped to expand her knowledge around how charter schools work, especially from the financial aspects, which we have all, I don't know if anybody remembers, but we were constantly seeing variations and changes to the tuition number, which is our main driver, obviously, of the entire budget, up and down throughout the course of the year. We always budget with a nice small cushion, knowing that there is this variability included in the numbers, and so we never want to be caught by surprise with respect to the budget. And unfortunately, this last couple of weeks, we were caught with a bit of a surprise in the revenue number. So the latest calculations associated with the forecasted revenue reduced our estimate and our budget by $234,000, which is a fairly significant reduction to the operating plan itself. That's the bad news. The good news is that we have had one or two items that were in the budget that are not happening this year, some of which we've taken to the bank in previous months meetings when we've discussed, to the tune of $135,000 or so, which is great. That's a huge offset to that revenue decline. And although it's not really represented here when you dig in and we review the numbers, there has been favorability in spending so far year to date. Hopefully that will continue, and Ellen and team are obviously very conservative and careful about what they spend to help keep on the plan in total. So the numbers are actually better than this in the green section than what you're seeing here. So just keep that in mind as we go through it. But it just brings to light again the incredible amount of focus that has to be maintained on the numbers for the school to make sure that we always can operate within our means, just in case something like this occurs.
Is there a reason why?
Ellen, I don't know if you want to share some of the information you received.
I think really what we found out, Jess, was that we've always budgeted, taken initial numbers that the state has told us were projections. And what we found out this week was they're not really projections. So one of the numbers in the spring really is the proposal by the House Ways and Means Committee. And then the next month it's the Senate House and Means Committee. So, and then they give us some other numbers in July, but we found out that those really aren't the final numbers either, although it seems that way, they're presented that way, because they haven't taken our SIMS data into consideration from October 1st, and then they haven't taken this other number that's been a mystery to us in the past, is no longer a mystery, but it's called, so there's this foundation amount of money that we get, and it's above foundation rate, and this is where it has to do with the Marlboro spending. You've heard me talk about that. Marlboro hasn't spent their tuition, and I can go into it more detail with you, but that number, those numbers don't get finalized and firmed up until the fall, And when those numbers finally come in, Leanna gets a new tuition amount in December. It came out on December 23rd. We were all on vacation already. And then that's the number that we found out we would drop by $234,000.
Which is 6 months after the budget.
Which is right,
Yeah,
we're
that's-
halfway through the year.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
outrageous. Not for you, like.
No,
these-
it's out, it's out, yeah, it
outrageous.
is, it is. And yet now, through this conversation that Leanna and I had with the Charter School Association, who really spent some time explaining this to us, I think going forward, we're in a much better position because from now on, the budget's gonna be based on the tuition that we get in December, along with Leanna's gonna go back and track the changes in the foundation numbers, and this above foundation numbers, and to find out historically what's been happening with those. And then we will base the budget on those numbers from now on and not pay much attention. Well, we'll watch what they do but it turns out that those are more political numbers. The House is gonna offer us this, but then the Senate's like, oh, no, we're not. And we have traditionally, all these years, and many, many other charter schools, because the state doesn't really educate you around that. So it's the Charter School Association that's figured out how the funding actually works, but we're not gonna worry about that variability anymore. We're gonna have our number, we're gonna have it in January, and that's the number we'll use through the spring.
Yeah. So it's an interesting challenge, right, that the school faces now. But like I said, there's also upside that's potentially coming with the student counts, right? So we'll see that come through. That's not reflected here right now. And then we'll also, be obviously very cautious with the spend. But I mean, there's no budget cutting right now for the second half of the year. All of the professional development money is still aside for teachers to take. That's not something, obviously, that would ever be impacted. It's just, the budget there's always pluses and minuses that have occurred, and that's going to help offset. But it will be a pinch to get back on the total plan this year. Whether or not that can be done, we'll keep working on as we progress. So just to summarize for November, again, I know these are very small numbers, and lately I've been wearing the wrong glasses. So we talked about revenue. So month to date, we're actually not too far off. We're within $4,000 of that number for the month to date versus budget, and its timing too is mostly the second half that we'll see this. Payroll taxes, we knew we were going to be somewhat favorable, which is good. We've had so much slowdown on the professional development. We haven't seen that come through yet. It's timing, really, the holidays and whatnot. That would be as expected. Ditto with consistently all the way down. The spending, you can see, has been lower than budget. And our total costs are $32,000 below budget for the month of November. So that's another indicator that, we probably had some either timing issues associated with it, or in some cases, the spending just won't come through. And then our surplus for the month, therefore, was favorable for November, despite the news with respect to the forecast for the second half of the year. And then year to date, we are still showing favorable in our surplus versus the budget, but again, because of that adjustment, it comes through in the second half of the year, and that's where we're going to see the decline go forward. So Leanna is going to, and Ellen are going to look very hard at the second half of the year forecast to make sure that we understand where any risks might be in those numbers. We also spent a lot of time talking, as usual, about some new work that Leanna and Ellen have done, especially Leanna, on pulling together a really fine analysis of the sports programs and the costs associated with them. It's always been something that the Finance Committee has wrestled with, and the school in total, which is what is the appropriate rates to charge students for the athletics. The school is somewhat more burdened than other institutions because we don't have a gym and field facilities, and we need to rent those spaces, and it drives the costs up relative to what it might cost other schools. We all felt like the fees were good where they were. Nobody was recommending any changes, but we do have an analysis now that if anyone has any questions, we can share. And we're going to do it for every season of sport so that we can understand per sport what it really costs the school to execute those programs for the students. It's just a budget line item. It's good to have the analysis so that we can understand where, again, the money goes for the school as we're looking forward into the future. Costs generally go up. We don't necessarily want to burden students with that money, and we want to make sure that we can live within the means of the state funds that we get. So that was really good.
Yeah, and that used to be a parent question frequently.
Yes. Yeah.
Why do the sports cost so much? And something like that can show them, AMSA's actually
Yeah, if any-
subsidizing you.
We have the data
Yeah.
now, so if anybody
That's good.
wants to.
We've
see
actually
that
pulled
information.
that out in the past because in the past, it's been over 50% subsidized by AMSA. So that was important that parents understand what that number looks like.
Yeah, yeah. So we have really great data now for that.
Good.
Any questions? Good.
Seeing no questions, thank you. Thank you, Kristen.
We're back on schedule. Good job, committees.
Good job, raise yours. All right, wrapping up the meeting. First, discuss meeting effectiveness to see if there's anything we can do better or not do, things we should do. One thing I have done in the committee reports, I'm cycling them through so the different committee will end up being first versus last. So that just a really minor tweak to the way we do committee reports. So the last shall be first. So any comments on that?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that is a good idea.
I like that idea.
Okay, I will keep doing that. Other thoughts on making this meeting more effective, or things we should keep doing that we are doing?
That's good.
Great, thank you. Call for agenda items for the February 27th meeting. Beyond the standard.
Oh, can we get an update on the lottery?
Do you know that by now?
For
Probably.
the,
It
in
will
the
be
February?
run just before or just after February break. That may be a little tight, but we'll see. Because she has to really process them before
All
we
right.
get real numbers.
Yep.
So maybe then for the March?
We have just shy of 800 applications.
Okay. And similar to last year, we won't know on Marlboro till like the night before.
That's the problem. That's why
Yep.
we may have to postpone the lottery until after February vacation as opposed to before. We have to wait to get that from them.
Is that 800 for 6th grade or is 800 across the board?
Across 6 to 9.
So how is that compared to prior years?
It's in range.
Same?
Yeah, it's funny, we looked at and it hasn't closed yet, it actually doesn't close till the end of the day Friday, but the prior 2 years, we were one application difference. Yeah, so it's pretty consistent.
Now, is it just because certain people have kids here that you had a big push for siblings this year, or is it?
Or just a
feel
reminder.
we're worried.
Yeah.
We're worried that families who have siblings have forgotten to put an application in. The sibling numbers were low, and we've been up and around 67, and I think we're in the high 40s right now. The last time I talked to Linda 2 days ago. So we're worried that the siblings out there, that parents are like, oh yeah, I'll do it.
Or you're just getting the tail end of families now?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because we've had so many siblings for a long time.
Yeah.
We have, and
Maybe
maybe
we're
that's
running
the
out of
case.
siblings.
People just stopped having more families,
Yeah.
bigger babies.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is probably for candidate for the March meeting,
Definitely for March.
lottery report.
Yeah.
Other special agenda items for the February meeting? But did we gain any additional action items from during the meeting? I don't recall.
Just my own, I asked Ben to send me his slide, that's the only thing.
Okay, that's,
No, I didn't.
right.
Oh, actually, if you do have any thoughts on what you would like to hear from guidance, please let me know on that in the next couple days, because our meeting's next Thursday, so.
And also, those who are going to the February 13th advocacy, they need to register somehow.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah, so register, so sort of group action items is, if you're going to the February 13th meeting, advocacy meeting, please register. For the board offsite, please complete your homework. Sooner is better so that Nan has a chance to digest. We were talking, if everybody responded, we could have 25 inputs. So we'll have a lot of work to digest and also put on your thinking hats in regards to the two topics that Ben will be working on in the afternoon portion of the meeting, which is the white building and our corporate outreach aspects. So think about those, but no physical homework is required. You know, feel free to send Ben any comments that you wish to, but no homework required there. All right. Given that, anything else before we wrap up the meeting? All right, need a motion to go into executive session to discuss the purchase, lease, sale, purchase or lease facilities, legal strategy, and strategy for negotiating with represented personnel.
I move that we go into executive session to discuss all those things.
Second.
By Sheila, second by Liz. This is a roll call vote, starting with Kristen.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We will not be reconvening, and can then be inviting Mike and Liana and Ellen to the executive session. And I guess we'll take the motion to adjourn the meeting. We will.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Start executive session in 5 minutes.
Sorry.